Nam Yoho Renge Kyo, Maduna Teru, and peace and love. As I sit here and discuss with you the history of the land, we will understand that matriarchs play a pivotal role in kingdoms in Asia, America, and Africa. Women matriarchs, warriors, priestess, kings. You have women kings. They rule, they give life, they nurture, they give fertility to the land, the plants, the animals, and their kingdoms. And the kings, the male counterparts who stand beside these queens and kings, I like to call women kings, pharaohs, empress, they respect to mutual respect. It's a give and take. It's a flow of respect and power. Neither the male king or the female king should be fighting in power, especially when it comes to Asia, Africa, and the spirits of America. As I sit here and enjoy this vegan sandwich from the land of Kush, I hope that we can open a discussion today about the history of the matriarch and the uprising of the matriarch today. Let's dig in. Void of meat, void of chemicals, void of substances in the air, in the water, void of all interference, women actually have the ability to procreate on our own and create life. History has shown powerful deities that have created themselves, motherless, fatherless, out of chaos, out of the waters, out of the sky, out of the earth, to then create us, humans. Okay, so these deities have the power to create us without the need to, for lack of better words, create life like you and I have to create life. That's number one. Now, those deities can also interact with their creation to influence offspring. Okay? So, what that means is if you think about the history of Egyptian gods and goddesses, Isis is the mother of fertility, who created Horus through immaculate conception. Okay? And also many other deities, if you take a look here, are historically known for creating life without having to create life like you and I do. That's an important fact. That's an important understanding that we have to grasp, realization that matriarchs existed on earth. They created without permission and without interaction with the male species. It is, to me, understanding that every nation has their own gods or God, and every nation has their own understanding of life. I've studied a lot of history about Asia, Mesopotamia, um, Africa, and Egypt, the culture of the pharaohs and their long reign, European history, Greek mythology, Roman theology, before uh, the missionaries forced Jesus Christ or Christianity, and American history, ancient civilizations that honored great spirits and deities that protected the lands and the waters. And not to leave out the Asians and the Sumerians as well. Um, in all of these stories, what is common is you have gods, deities, creators who came to be, manifested themselves, both male and woman, feminine and masculine, out of thin air, out of the water, out of the sky, out of the earth, out of fire, and cosmic realms, other planets, intelligent species that have left information here for humankind to find and decode and cipher, to talk about and understand. And then you have the gods who do not want humankind to create on their own, to discover information, to become knowledgeable. Right now, and for some time, for a very long time, humankind has been forced to a certain frequency. Some would like to understand it as a vibration that they've been tuned to, that can only be understood as a sort of hypnosis, a programming, if you will, that keeps them from being able to understand what is going on around them, the history of our circumstances, and the bigger picture, right? Before I continue, I would like to take a quick commercial break and to introduce those of you who don't know to ginger spice. Ginger spice is one of Mother Nature's most ancient remedies for several different ailments in the human body. I encourage you to try some ginger spice. There's a kick, but it's worth it. And our sponsor today, the Land of Kush, located in Baltimore, Maryland, a great hometown hotspot, a classic that meets health with good. This right here is a mock crab cake sandwich, and as you can see, I've already taken 2 large bites, and I'm going in for the third. We are back from our commercial break. Getting back to the topic at hand today is ancient civilizations, their deities, and their cultures. Um, we left off speaking about how current society and human civilization has been programmed for quite some time to be on a frequency of work and fear. Breaking out of that into a new enlightenment where your mind is free to understand the past and influenced how that has influenced the current paradigm which we are in now. understanding that there was a heavy matriarchal influence in the past. There was a heavy spiritual influence, spiritual meaning the people were connected to the land. They understood the land, and there was a heavy godly experience, meaning God was connected to the people and to the land. Now we are in a realm where we are not really connected like we should be to our gods and to our deities and to our land and to ourselves and the matriarch. We have a heavy influence of patriarchal power and an imbalance in nature that is causing everything to seem out of cycle and out of balance, because it is. How do we fix this? Well, each nation has their own way of governing their land. If you take a look at Asia, their dynasties were organized. The Sumerian culture was a patriarchal driven culture, but before it was patriarchal, it was matriarchal. There was balance, there was peace, there was harmony, and women shared assets, they shared nature, they tilled the land, and there wasn't much war until the Sumerians built cities that governed women, the way they procreated, and the way they lived their everyday life. If you take a look at African and Egyptian culture, the Africans and Egyptians are very precise in the way they govern their everyday life. They have peace, they have justice. Yes, there are rankings of people who work to build, and there are priestesses and priesthoods, but for the most part, there were not wars like you see now in this patriarchal united confederacy that most of the world has bought into. This whole Christian, Catholic, Roman, European guided idealism of the powerhouse of the patriarch. If you also take a look at America, the Native Americans, Incas, were very precise in their governing of the land, the animals, their way of life, their lifestyle. It was peaceful. And so as we take a look at that to understand how do we move forward, for those of us who are in America under the Confederate of the United States, we vote, right? And excuse me, we vote. There is a lot of back and forth amongst scholars, business people, citizens, everyone who is a part of the conversation. Is voting necessary? Our most recent voting ceremony took place August the 3rd. 17% less show out in Baltimore City than last year for the gubernatorial city election voting. So it seems as though the census does agree that voting doesn't matter. And I can understand why voters feel this way. Obviously, the people who have been voted into office for the United States have been dishonest and unworthy of the seat. That follows suit for city officials. Things are changing. We do not want to say voting doesn't matter, because then you get into a dictatorship. And we don't want that, because what that looks like is one person making rules for you and you have no say so. What we want to do to get out of this paradigm of the United States Confederacy, Christian, Catholic, Roman, European oppressive state that we've been in, is to become sovereign. Sovereign is a private, one nation under God, meaning we don't answer to a person. The people have the power to vote and to talk about ideas and structures. It's more socialist than it is democratic or republic. We don't separate the people to fight against each other. The people are one. The people are one sovereign unit, and we come together and we talk about the issues in our community, within our kingdom, at City Hall. We vote on the changes that we want and that make sense, and we include everyone who is a part of that township. Now, this applies to people who belong to a specific land. And right now, uh, there are people on American soil who don't exactly belong to American soil. Um, Everyone who is a part of the United States Confederacy, for example, they belong to Europe and Rome, and their rules only apply to the jurisdiction of Europe and Rome. The only reason that the United States has permission to be on American soil is to open up companies and to do trade and business. And the people of the land, us, melanated Native Americans, are supposed to collect the taxes from the United States. But because of failed treaties of 1776 and warcraft, warmongering, and insidious, wicked tactics of missionaries and Roman and European powers, that never happened. Instead, the Native Americans were enslaved and forced to build up the United States land, which we are in today. So we have to vote in a new party, create a new party, a party of sovereign people who do not agree with the United States. We have our own laws and ways that we govern our society and ways to do business and trade. And this is what we are getting into. What does that look like? It looks like a emperor and an empress taking the house of America. So America would be one nation. It wouldn't be these separate states that are, housed by different governors, different politicians. There would be a king and queen of America, an emperor and empress of America. And the land would have to go to the people, the indigenous descendants of the Native Americans of America. That's where it starts. And then once you have those families in place, then we can begin to see what we have after it is all said and done. But as it stands right now, America has been trampled upon by many different nations that don't belong here. So it's a bit difficult to create a government of order when you have so many other races and nations on your land that don't want to respect you or your people. And the Pedagogy of the Oppressed talks about it so eloquently. Paul Freire speaks about how the oppressed people who are under the rule of European, Roman, Catholic, Christian dominance have to awaken and realize their power, not necessarily the power to only fight and take back what's theirs physically, but to awaken spiritually, mentally, and metaphysically to understand that you don't have to answer to these people because you can open up businesses on your land and collect taxes from them. And this is what we are breaking through and getting into is just realizing who we are, what we own, and the power that was bestowed upon us from our deities that created us and gave us this land, to be free from restriction, from oppression, to be able to have esoteric knowledge and to learn and not to be oppressed, to only learn what you want a particular race to learn. And that is the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway from this conversation that I have for us today. And looking at history and how the matriarch played such a pivotal role in the spirituality, the fertility, the photosynthesis of the heavens, the earth, and understanding the sphere of creation, not dominance and chaos and destruction, but balance to add to our male counterparts' logic, right? Nubian women, Native American women, Moroccan women, American women, indigenous women have to awaken. Our spirit has to want to get along with each other. And I'm so glad that I said that, because this brings me into the next thought that I wanted to bring to you guys, and I almost forgot, but I didn't forget. It is this frequency, the vibration of our voices needs to be introduced to the world. Windows in our homes are so important because we can open them up and we can tune into nature. We're not closed in. So we are still interacting with nature. Women, I would love to meet up with you at the park. Only women who are in tune and in frequency. No women who have not been initiated. If you haven't initiated yourself, unfortunately, you're not ready yet. But if you're seeing this message and you haven't initiated yourself, this is a sign that maybe you should look into what initiation looks like for you. What does spirituality look like for me? Who am I? Where do I fit in the grand scheme and the bigger picture? And how can I contribute? Do I want to contribute? Am I supposed to contribute? So if you know that you have been awakened and that your spirit is in tune with nature, let's meet up and do yoga at the park. And I have some gifts for you that I want you to receive. You may already have these gifts, but I want us to use these gifts together to continue to raise our frequency to that of Mother Earth. And just closing in, we always talk about Father God, but Mother God and Father God work together. The feminine and the masculine work together, and we have to start giving respect to the deities who have done so much to form us and to breathe life into us and to understand who is here to protect us and who is here to control us. Okay, in the age of Aquarius, I give you all expansion, and I'm so happy to be here with you in this area, in this era. And Ashe, Namaste, Nam Yoho Renge Kyo, Meduna Teru, and peace and love.